They called it the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom.
In the summer of 1963, the March on Washington was blazing. Everyone from Bob Dylan to Lena Horne turned out. But this monumental act of nonviolent protest was no easy task and was directed by the efforts of one man. The March on Washington took place in Washington, D.C., affectionately named after George Washington. George lived on a 500-acre plantation 20 miles outside of the District of Columbia. The plantation was maintained and operated by more than 300 enslaved individuals. The Washington estate relied on butlers, cooks, and housemates, gardeners, blacksmiths, ditch diggers, and wagon drivers. These workers labored day and night 6 days a week. Way before the 13th Amendment of the Constitution abolished slavery, black folk already punched the clock to labor as nurses, spies, carpenters, and even soldiers in the Civil War. After the war, blacks faced significant amounts of poverty, limited access to education, and faced racial discrimination that was enforced by the law. In an attempt to combat poverty, many blacks were pushed back into the workforce. The Pullman Company was the largest employer of blacks, hiring them to assist first-class passengers on luxury rail cars. Former slaves faced decades of discrimination and abuse, thus organizing the Brotherhood of Sleeping Car Porters, founded by A. Philip Randolph. Randolph, however, emerged as spokesperson for the civil rights movement, and began a major campaign to march on Washington to protest discriminatory hiring during World War II. Bayard Rustin helped plan the initial March on Washington, but it was canceled because FDR issued an executive order to end segregation and mistreatment in the war industry. A. Philip Randolph asked Bayard to organize a second March on Washington campaign as deputy director. Rustin led 200 organizers and activists publicizing the march, recruiting marchers, coordinating transportation to the march, providing peacekeeping marshals, and administered the logistics of the march. Rustin gave his closing remarks after Dr. Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech, and listed demands of the civil rights movement that would help enforce economic justice. 250,000 people marched on Washington for jobs and freedom. Throughout his career, Bayard Rustin was an activist for social change and justice for all Americans, and is considered an integral force in the civil rights movement. Rustin's efforts are so influential but so poorly recognized that Netflix produced a film dramatizing his tumultuous career. But of course, viewer discretion is advised. Bayard Rustin was an advocate for equality and justice and believed that, and I quote, "We are all one, and if we don't know it, we will learn the hard way." Peace.